F1 News: Sebastian Vettel makes revelation over failed Lewis Hamilton battle. Vettel went into the 2018 season with high hopes of becoming only the third man in history to win 5 World Drivers' Championships. And for the first half of the campaign he was neck and neck with Hamilton as they traded race victories. As post-summer break win at the Belgian Grand Prix proved to be a false dawn though as Hamilton pulled away from him. And the Brits' performances over the rest of the year secured Mercedes their 5th title on the bounce. Ferrari, meanwhile, were left reeling at another season which had not gone to plan for themselves and Vettel has now revealed why he believes came out on top for the 4th time in 5 years. Not at all, really, Vettel told Swiss newspaper, when asked if it is tough to admit Hamilton was the better driver in 2018. Only one can win. Unfortunately, we had our mistakes, whether it was mine or the team that I would not like to separate. I always stand up for the team. On the bottom line, Mercedes was better, Lewis was the better driver, got more points and made fewer mistakes. It is as simple as that. Ferrari's struggles after the Belgian Grand Prix have been blamed on the modifications they made to their car over the summer. And Vettel says they were too slow to realize the negative impact those changes had. Simply stated, we were at the limit and then of course you try to squeeze out even more somewhere, Vettel said. And in this way, we made a mistake that we did not immediately perceive as a mistake. And then we just headed in the wrong direction. Vettel failed to win a single Grand Prix after August's race in Belgium. And he will be desperate to bounce back in time for the start of the 2019 campaign. Returns in March when Vettel, Hamilton and CO head to Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix. Next news: F1 News: Daniel Ricciardo only start of Renault's ambitions, warns Nico Hülkenberg. Adding Daniel Ricciardo as a driver must only be the start of Renault's levels of ambition, insists Nico Hülkenberg, who is expecting further progress from the team in 2019. Renault ended 2018 as the best of the rest behind Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull, but never showed the pace to actually challenge the Big Three for a podium, with their best finish in a Grand Prix being 5th. The French car manufacturer has invested heavily to try and bridge that gap, and Hülkenberg has stressed the importance of doing this over the European winter and that they must take advantage of the opportunities afforded by a big regulation change to the aerodynamics. We have to continue to progress, said the German. But it's always really hard, it's all speculation. We know what we do and I know it sounds not bad, but we're in the darkness as to what the others find. Obviously the new front wing is kind of a soft reset for next year, as it's quite different for the cars. So it's really hard to gauge, but of course that's where we need to go, what we need to aim at. We need to eat a lot of the gap away and eat into it. As a factory team, we need to aim at making a big step. I think we've made a lot of good progress in a lot of areas, especially in team structure and putting the team in the right place to grow and to build in the next 2 years. But on the technical side, development side, just on the car this year was not quite to our ambitions and what we were looking for. So that's something we have to work on and get better at next year. But I think overall, last year P6, now P4, I think that's a healthy and good development. Next news: Sainz comments confirm worst fears for McLaren. The incoming driver pairing for the Woking-based British team known as McLaren, could at best be described as being mediocre. Gone is Fernando Alonso, the self-confessed Spanish samurai, and allegedly one of the best things since sliced bread. Gone is an seriously rated young talent from Belgium who was systematically demolished by pure favoritism by McLaren management for their Spanish number 1. And please don't argue with the fact that Stoffel isn't highly rated. Let's not forget the fact he's picked up a coveted works drive with the Mercedes-Benz, racing in their brand new, and perhaps more real-world relevant, Formula E team for 2019. Incoming we have the Spanish ex-Red Bull driver Carlos Sainz Jr., and new boy with the rather Star Wars Esquire first name, Lando Norris. Certainly it's been a while since such an unproven driver lineup has graced one of the most successful teams in F1 history. Indeed, it seems such was the desperation for McLaren to land somebody with even a hint of credibility in their driver lineup. They went the extra mile to convince the Spaniard to join up, obviously playing on the fact that the new boy Sainz would be directly replacing his hero Fernando Alonso. And that extra mile effort was hilarious. According to Sainz, McLaren claimed to him they knew exactly what went wrong in 2018, and decided to present their evidence in the form of a presentation, probably in PowerPoint. Very George Russell. I didn't see a lot of scratching heads, says Sainz, explaining what happened before signing on the dotted line. I saw they more or less had a very clear picture of what has happened, why and the way we need to improve. So already when I got here, they made me an explanation and presentation of what happened. Oh dear, presentations, selling the drive, setting goals. It seems the American corporate ways of ZBN are now in full effect at McLaren, with all the usual BS marketing stench. So where did it all go wrong at McLaren? Many lines of text have been written by many knowledgeable and long-established scribes of our favorite sport, and I'm not going to go into a lengthy discussion here today on the history of that particular subject matter. Suffice to say, in recent times, Zak Brown has been the single most worst thing that McLaren have allowed to happen. The American's obvious fanboy loyalty to Fernando Alonso has left the team in utter no man's land now the chosen one has upped sticks and left F1 for good. Add to this Zak's stitching of a works Honda engine, preferring Alonso's request for a Renault lump, clearly eyeing up short-term gains that support his soon-to-end career timeline. Indeed, Renault were never going to be more than a stopgap, who are openly concentrating on their work steam, away from focusing on customer teams after the burning received from the Red Bull years. But perhaps the truth of the matter is that McLaren never really stood much of a chance. Since the FIA's decision to move over to full hybrid engine formula, the biggest dominant organization in the history of the sport has arrived and not let go of the sport's dangly bits. Carlos Sainz confirms this by admitting that McLaren have the tools to return to the top, but I still think that Mercedes has set a new bar to everyone. I think every team that is not Mercedes right now is playing catch-up because they have set a new benchmark to all the teams of F1. The way they need to work and perform to get the level they are, which is simply incredible at the moment. Carlos is being too kind. The sole reason that Mercedes have dominated to this extent is due to a budgetary commitment way beyond anything else, capitalizing on an early development lead started long before the 2014 hybrid regulations came into force. As is typical in any big rule change, the teams leading before the change often do worse after the new regulation come into force due to the requirement of resource required to battle at the front. 2009, we saw the previously championship contending teams of Ferrari and McLaren struggle to get on the podium against new boys Red Bull and Brawn GP. Then in 2014, championship winners Red Bull, Renault and Ferrari again failed to compete regularly at the front, whilst the mediocre Mercedes Works team were quietly plotting their domination of the hybrid era as far back as 2010, pouring huge resources into R&D of VRS and in test heists. Alas, the biggest chance for non-manufacturer teams to catch up and surpass the leaders of Mercedes and Ferrari today, was lost after the decision to retain the engine formula in 2021 happened earlier this year. There is to be no shake-up of the grid anytime soon, and Sainz realizes this, saying that is why there is not a lot of rush when talking about getting to the sharp end with McLaren. They know it's pointless to plan for it whilst manufacturers dominate with infinite purse strings. McLaren are simply not that rich, and to be frank, they never were as rich as the big boys today. But Sainz does concede that there is a commitment to improve McLaren and to make it first a solid midfield car and then do a step. That is our short-term/mid-term plan, and hopefully one day this team, and hopefully I am still here, goes back to where it belongs. And sadly McLaren fans, that is the truth of the matter. Carlos Sainz is young, but even he alludes to the fact that he might not be around if McLaren will ever return to the front of the grid. Long live Ron Dennis.